Hey, sports porchers and Sixers fans. Welcome to the final episode of 1098 76ers playoff talk for the 2023-2024 season. I am your host, the Grand Schwabini, and we're going to break down how the Sixers fell 4-2 to the Knicks and what to do moving forward. Well, look, the team fought hard tonight. Another close game. They lost 118 to 115. But they certainly gave it their all. And, look, what this really comes down to is the Knicks are just a slightly better team. Couple breaks went the Sixers' way. Sure, could they have won it 4-2 or 4-3? Yeah, but they didn't. But I think the bigger picture here is the roster as constructed right now can't win a championship. So it's looking forward to next year and what we're going to do to make it right. So first, let's just talk a little bit about this game. Knicks come out on fire, 33-11. They take a 22-point lead early in the second quarter. And that's not a good thing. Now, look, basketball is a game of runs, so I felt like the Sixers would try to have a comeback, and they did. They overcame that and eventually had in the second half a 10-point lead of their own. But it's not a great start when the visiting team comes out and has more energy than you in your own building. So that wasn't great. But nice job rallying, nice job coming back. And ultimately the game comes down to you got a tie game and it's about 30 seconds left or so. They double team Brunson. Josh Hart is all alone at the top of the key for a 3-pointer and he hits it, right? And he's been very inconsistent all series, but he hit a big shot there, so you got to give him credit for that. And then it was just a bunch of Sixers get two, we foul, they make two free throws, we get two, we foul, they make two free throws, and then finally by the end of it, I think you're down to like 3 seconds left, and we guess basically got to heave up a 3-pointer off of an inbound pass, and that went to Buddy Hield because they were covering Maxey with a double team. And it didn't go in. So, that's really what it kind of comes down to. So let's just give some credit to the Knicks first, and then we'll move on to the Sixers. So Jalen Brunson, unbelievable, 41 points, 12 assists. I believe he's the first, I don't know if it's the first Knick or first NBA player to have, I think 3 consecutive games over 40 points. I think the only other person who did that was Oscar Robertson. So I mean, he's really sensational. Then you had Dante DiVincenzo. When they didn't win, he had bad games, and he had a pretty solid game tonight. 23 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists. Josh Hart, gritty work, 16 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists, and also hitting that big three in crunch time. Hartenstein, nice job, 14 points, 9 rebounds. And Anunoby, 19 points, 9 rebounds. And he did have one heck of a slam dunk on Embiid. Now, Embiid really kind of got there late. It wasn't like it was fully contested, but it was a pretty nice slam. And one thing I can tell you is, you talk about who you get at the trade deadline. And I remember, these guys, they picked up Anunoby and Josh Hart at the trade deadline. Sixers got Buddy Hield. He had a great game in the night, but didn't do much for them. But these two guys, I mean, they're starters. They're starters that are scoring big, big points, big assists, big rebounds. Look, the Knicks did a better job at the trade deadline than the Sixers did. That's on Daryl Morey. So let's talk about why did the Sixers lose? Okay. Very even series. It's kind of like two different teams. The Knicks have one superstar, but then they've got a starting five that can all play. The Sixers have two superstars and one starter who can play, two who can't, and the bench is inconsistent. So look, I think it's fitting in his final game as a 76er. Tobias Harris plays 29 minutes, only takes two shots, 0 of 2, 0 points. That's all you really need to say. That's not a max player. Now, granted, when he was given that contract, he was a lot better. I mean, he used to score like 20 and 10. But he's I think 31 or 32 now. His skills diminished severely this year. So the good news is his contract's up and he won't be back, and we can sign another max superstar player to go with Embiid and Maxey. The other problem is, your starting point guard is Kyle Lowry. He's 38 years old. I mean, does he give you veteran leadership and energy and smarts? Sure. Did he have a nice game or two in the series? Yeah. But tonight, 0 for 2, no points. Like, you just can't have two of your starters score no points in an NBA basketball game when on the Knicks, every starter had at least 14 points. That's a huge difference right there. So let's just talk a little bit about, so essentially what you need to do next year is you need to replace Tobias Harris with a max superstar player. You need to get another starting caliber guard to run alongside Maxey, who can at least give you, 12 points a game, and hopefully they're not 38, maybe they're 25, right? And then you need a couple bench pieces because, the bench pieces seem to come and go. So maybe we'll lose a couple, but we'll need to gain a couple. So let's, and that's really the formula. You just got to basically create a better team. They've got a lot. They've got a good coach. They got two great players. And they, I think Kelly Oubre showed himself as a good quality starting player, a wing who plays great defense. I don't think he's going to come back because he's probably at the end of his career. He might be like 38 or 40 himself. But Nick Batum, great defender, can knock down 3-point shots. Love him as a bench player. But and I really like Cam Payne. He brings good energy. Hits 3-point shots. Like him on the bench. But not enough in other areas. I mean, Paul Reed. I mean, he's just not good enough to spell Joel Embiid. When Joel Embiid went out of the game in this series, we were outscored significantly, to the point where you could say that's the difference in those games. So we need a backup big for sure. And let's just talk a little bit about this game. Look, it was a elimination game. I think Embiid came to play, 39 points, 13 rebounds, 2 assists. And let's face it too. I mean, he's playing absolutely dead out there. I mean, it's if you really think about it, it's really kind of amazing that he can have 39, 13, and 2 with a bad knee, Bell's palsy on his face, a migraine the other day. He's out of shape because he didn't play for 2.5 months. I have no problem at all with what he gave you tonight. Tyrese Maxey, after that sensational game winner and 46 points, he didn't have a great game. He had 17 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Obviously, they were really trying to take Maxey out of the game tonight. They were really double teaming him and like shooting people at him. And it was pretty effective. But I think that's one of the things that, like a young budding superstar sort of has to learn. He's not used to what they did tonight. What they did tonight was they let Embiid be one-on-one. And they said, okay, Embiid, okay, you score your 30 plus points, but we're going to try to stop Maxey. with double teams, and they did that, and they did it successfully. But I think that's something that, that's an adjustment that Maxey's going to have to make going forward. They had a great game out of Buddy Hield tonight. Buddy Hield went 6 of 9 from 3-point range. I mean, he was really the guy that brought them back from 22 down. He had 20 points, 4 rebounds, and an assist. That's what I thought we were going to be seeing all postseason from Buddy Hield. It was his first playoffs. Maybe this game is, this game today is something that, he can build on as a confidence booster. But overall, it was pretty disappointing, his playoff performance, but he was great in this game. So that's maybe something positive to look forward to. Nico Batum, really good again, 16 points, 7 boards, 2 rebounds. Kelly Oubre, 17 points, 5 boards, and an assist. So, really good stuff there. As far as the team statistics, Knicks shot just a smidge better than the Sixers, 46.2% to 43.7%. Three-pointers were about the same. A lot of stats were about the same. Knicks out-rebounded the Sixers by 2. And, it sounds a lot to say the Knicks had 20 offensive rebounds, but the Sixers also had 16 offensive rebounds. So it is sort of even there, with a little edge to the Knicks. So I don't want to get carried away and say they lost this game based on offensive rebounds, but at the same time, I can also acknowledge that 20 offensive rebounds is too much. Assists, Knicks had 28 to the Sixers 20, and I think that was just a reflection of moving the ball better than the Sixers did tonight. And kind of the outlier statistic of the night, which was insane, a lot of it due to Buddy Hield and Batum having a big game. Sixers bench actually outscored the Knicks bench 42-5. So great game by the bench, way to come up big. But often that happens. The bench usually plays better at home than they do on the road. So overall, I think, look, another disappointing season for the Sixers. You had the Embiid injuries again, which really, hurt them. Embiid wasn't going into the playoffs healthy like we thought he was going to kind of at the end of the season, but he really didn't. And so that's always a concern. It's always a concern, Embiid's health. But at the same time, let's be real here. You're going to have a bunch of fans who come out and say, "We got to trade Embiid. We got to trade Embiid." Like for what? For what? You're not going to get anything for him, except like a couple mid-tier players. You just can't find somebody else who's going to go 39, 13, and 2. And in the one game he won for them this series, he scored 50. You're just not going to find that out there. I mean, the bottom line is when he's fully healthy, he's, him and Jokic are probably the 2 best players in the league. So, you just got to keep hoping that, you hit it right with him over the next 2-3 years, as far as health in the playoffs. The real positive was the emergence of Tyrese Maxey as a star. I really like what you get out of Nick Nurse. I think he's a very good coach. So if we can just do some more with the roster this upcoming season, finally getting through the contract of Tobias Harris, I think we could come back a really strong team next year. So, nothing terrible. Look, we got Phillies now, and the Phillies, I believe, are the most wins in baseball, I think at 21, unless somebody tied them tonight. So the Phillies are off to a good start, and that will give us joy over the summer months. So for now, for this season, the Grand Schwabini apologizes to you, our fans, for incorrectly seeing the future wrong. I thought that the Sixers were going to win in 6, and I was wrong. Sometimes the Grand Schwabini will let you down. I try not to, but it happens. It happens. So give the Schwabini a break, give him a pass, because most of the time he sees the future. So let's go Sixers. Let's get back in the competition for a title. Let's get after it next year. Signing off for once and for all. 10-9-8 76ers.